call to order the meeting on Monday, January the 8th. If the clerk would please take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald. Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Ruiz. Councilmember Warden.
Here.
Mayor Rep.
Here. You have before you tonight the minutes from the regular meeting of December the 11th. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Ashford. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Harris. Is there any additions or deletions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes will stand as they were submitted. The next item is public comment. If there's anyone in the audience this evening who wishes to give comment to the City Council, you have 4 minutes. You just need to come to the podium and give us your name.
Hi, my name is Maxine Murphy, and I live at 2375 Hobbs Road. I'm a resident of Clearview Hobbs Road facility, and as of now, we have to vacate the home to make room for Pathway closing. We pay rent there, and I feel like we should have tenant rights, and just because Pathway is closing, they want us to move to solve their problem. And I'll be homeless again. And I've been part of this facility, and all I got was everyone in the home has to move. The reason is not valid. I feel like we deserve more than that. This is a transitional living house where we're supposed to be able to come to get our lives back together and get help to move to the next level, and that is not happening.
Excuse me, did you say your address was Hobbs Road?
Hobbs Road,
That's not in the city of Port Huron.
but Pathways is. So they're gonna move us out to move Pathways homeless shelter in?
But that, we don't have any jurisdiction of things outside of our community,
Mayor, I just wrote that to the jurisdiction when you said Hobbs.
meaning there's nothing that we can
Do
to help you. I feel bad for your circumstances, but we don't have any jurisdiction as to what they do in the township. Which township is it
Okay,
in?
but Clearview is officially on 1408 8th Street, the Clearview program, and that's just another facility that they have on Hobbs Road off of Lapeer Road.
Madam Mayor, if I could.
Yes,
The pathway, with the issue with pathways, the rescue mission that they have, we have been working with the Human Services Coalition to address the closing of pathways and what to do with those residents, where to go. There are some other facilities in the city that will be expanding their operations with the hope of absorbing some of those clients of that facility. So we are aware of it. It's unfortunate that it's displacing your program just slightly outside the city, but it is something that Health and Human Services Coalition is addressing.
Do
Okay,
you have
so,
I don't know if you have who should she contact, James?
Why don't you get with David Haynes at the end of the meeting, and he could pass along your information to the
Can you put your
coalition.
hand up so she sees?
Okay.
Would
That
you
work
do
for you?
that?
okay, thank you.
And he'll see what he can do to help you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council this evening?
Yes, for the record, my name is Philip Reiser from Port Huron, Michigan. I'm here concerning the proposed ordinance 17-017 concerning the freedom of speech issue concerning signs, which was complained about in the last hearing. I had wrote some of the council members. I haven't got any response from them. Have any of you ever read the First Amendment of the Constitution? Do you know what it says?
We don't go back and forth with
Well-
questions and answers.
It simply states that there's no state, and this is certainly not a state, no state shall abridge the rights of the First Amendment of the Constitution of freedom of speech. And I just want to find out what input that, like was put, Mr. Freed put last time we was here, talking about these people who are mentally unstable. I don't know where he gets his information from. I don't know what medical report, but it appears to me that this is just a facade to convince this council that we need to restrict the speech of people. There's some things that I object to, but that under the Constitution, we are permitted to speak. Unless it's slanderous, defaming, indecent, those are issues that there are laws against. But nothing that I put up comes under that regarding such. In other words, I don't know where the council's going with this. I'm just here to let you know that if you think it's going to go anywhere, you're sadly mistaken, because you cannot abridge my right to speak, whether it's in print, published, or whether it's my voice. And so I just want to let you know that if you think that you're going to make me close my mouth concerning some issues, praise the Lord, that I've had with the city, you're mistaken. You want to bring me to court? Bring me to court. So it's up to you how you want to handle this. Apparently, I can't get anybody from the city to answer me. Apparently, people have decided that they're not going to talk to Philip Reisner. They've got issues with me, and I just want to let you know that I don't know where you're coming from with regard to being able to abridge my rights to speak, whether it's in print or whether I speak verbally. There's a whole lot of things that I don't like, but I can't do anything about it because that's the other person's freedom to do. And so I just want to let you know that if you want to consider abridging my speech, I think you got another thing coming when it comes to the legality of it. And if you want to sue me, sue me. It's up to you. Okay?
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience?
Hi, my name is Jake Davis, and I'm from Lansing, Michigan. I won't need the whole 4 minutes. I'm a governmental consultant, and we represent some folks who are interested in getting into the medical marijuana market in the southeast Michigan region. Some very well-established business people. We don't know if the city of Port Huron is considering or not considering adopting an ordinance or not, but if so, we'd like to meet the members of the council, the members of the community, and the stakeholders here to get to know the community better. And I'd be happy to talk to anyone after the meeting about the medical marijuana issue and where that might be going. So, thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? I'm David Pardon. I'm from Macomb, Michigan.
What was your last name again?
Pardon, P-A-R-D-U-N.
Okay.
I was going to sit back and just kind of watch, but as he stood, I'm also here as far as the medical marijuana. We are business owners, and we're looking to open a dispensary and just kind of going from city to city and seeing what the outlook is. So just want to introduce myself
Okay,
and hopefully do business soon.
thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council this evening?
Evening, honey. Hope you all are having a weird evening. My name's Alex Mackin. I live at 1703 16th Street. And I am here also because of what's all wrapped up with the enforcement of standards of decency through the Administrative Hearings Bureau and the enforcement of blight and stuff like that, as far as it all ties into the sign issue, the resizing of political signs and all that. I'm here to ask you to flat out drop the Administrative Hearings Bureau. It is costing us too much as far as our social costs, the actual cost of operation. And when situations, when we have conflict within the community, we can use harm reduction tactics to find appropriate solutions to often convoluted or even sometimes extremely superficial problems. When we have these situations in the community where somebody has an issue or an issue with somebody else, it provides an opportunity to create a solution that provides work to whoever. It provides low-skill opportunity and chances for sporadic workers. We can set up streamlined coverage and low-cost beautification initiatives. And these are learning opportunities for people who come into the situation that are like, don't even know how to mow their lawn or whatever. You can learn from some person who's willing to engage in this, the alternative to punitive reciprocity, where we take somebody and drag them through the muck just to get $400 out of them because your lawn's too long or you got a sign in your yard. It's too big. When we get together and we talk about things, we build context for the meaningful engagements in our civic life. We can create incentives for making our space the way everybody wants it or better than it was before, but we don't need to make things hard on each other just because we don't like the way it looks right now. Everything's a work in process. Instead of having some person go out over and over and set up a situation where the most effective solution can actually be cultivated in auspicious company where we all get together and just work it out instead of finding each other or whatever. Instead of fretting that somebody's porch and shutters aren't the same color or whatever, we can talk to each other and find out what's going on. Maybe the person just happens to want it that way, and that's a unique expression of their own unique individual self. Instead of taking someone's house based on some flim-flam allegations and selling it here in this city council meeting for $500 later. Each opportunity is one to make the place that we live a better place. I don't want to live in a community with some dirtbag that wants to come and steal however much it costs to mow my lawn after I shout, hey, you can't mow my lawn. I take care of my lawn. I maintain that I mow my lawn. I called you. I mow my lawn and said it's exactly how I want it to be. And then you look into it, that's fine. Come the next city council meeting, you say, oh, we're going to redefine what a political sign is and how big your sign is based on the fact that, I put up a sign in my yard that said this ain't right. Phil is awesome for telling everybody that what y'all are doing ain't right. The way you operate is not all right.
Mr. Mackham, your 4 minutes is up.
We need to remove the barriers and lower the cost of this whole process, or else it's just going to swallow everyone alive.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the City Council this evening?
Reverend Arnold Kuntz. I do live in Port Huron Township at 3245 Range Road. I have owned property in the city of Port Huron since 1975 and paid city taxes on several pieces of property. That's how I make my living. And when I have somebody in the neighborhood who is reluctant to cut their lawn or to put things on their lawn that are offensive to other people, that hurts me because people will not rent my properties. Now, I fully agree with freedom of speech. But when somebody else's freedom of speech infringes upon my rights to make a living, something should be said, something should be done. And when somebody's freedom to let their grass grow exorbitantly long infringes upon my right to have a piece of property that is up to the standards that I would expect that I would live in myself, or I won't rent it. I applaud your efforts for your blight control. I applaud your efforts to keep this city a place where people will want to come and want to live and be a part of our community. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, if your plans are for a year, plant wheat. If your plans are for 10 years, plant trees. If your plan is for 10 years, for a lifetime, invest in people. I thank you for your investment in the people of Port Huron. And I encourage you to continue to hold that standard high so the people that come to our city will be proud to be members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the city council this evening? Seeing no one, I'll declare public comment closed. We will move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So move.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Ashford. Is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb.
Mayor Rep,
Councilmember Warden.
I think it's number 2 from the city manager, the appointments.
Okay. We'll take a vote on the rest of them then.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Items that were adopted under the consent agenda, received and filed, oh, no, not that one. Received and filed notification from the Michigan Liquor Control Commission to transfer ownership of a 2017 escrowed Class C SDM brew pub licensed business with 3 bars, Sunday sales permit, and dance permit and outdoor service areas of 2 from Eastern Michigan Bank to Wings of Port Huron LLC at 330 Quay Street. Approve the scheduling of a public hearing for January 22nd to receive comments on the general needs and community development, housing, and special services utilizing CDBG and home funds, and scheduling a second public hearing for February the 26th to hear comments on the proposed 2018 annual action plan. Approved scheduling of a public hearing for February the 12th to hear comments concerning liquor licensees delinquent in payment of taxes and/or income tax reporting or payments. Confirmed and approved single lot special assessments for fines, assessments, and/or cost of removing blight, blighting factors, and/or causes of blight, as well as the abatement of nuisances. Approved the reappointment of Nicole Hutchinson and Stephanie Romales to the Beautification Commission with terms to expire January 30th of 2021. We will move on then to item 1 under from the city manager.
Approving the city manager's emergency purchase order from J.F. Kavanaugh Company in the amount of $135,000 for pipework installation in sludge storage tanks 5 and 7 at the wastewater treatment plant.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb.
Madam Mayor, if I could.
Yes.
I believe it was last week, I was briefed by the utilities supervisor and the DPW director on the project where we were essentially cleaning out and repairing our sludge storage tanks. There's a window of opportunity when you can no longer spread sludge on the farm fields because of the DEQ regulations and frozen ground. And so these are storage tanks that we hold the sludge. We had emptied out 4 of the tanks for this cleaning and for the repairs. When they got in there, there was additional repair piping and valves that were needed. It must be replaced. The repairs must be made. And so the question of whether or not we're going to do the work is essentially a moot point because that work has to be done. My concern is the timing. We need these tanks back in operation in early February because we will essentially fill up we have 8 storage facilities. 4 of them will fill up quickly. If we don't have 4 available to begin filling, we would have the issue of what to do with the sludge. There may be hazmat removal, very expensive. And so on many of these projects where you're using older facilities and doing retrofitting work, things come up. And my fear is that if I waited an additional week on lead time to begin assembling the materials and parts, that should an issue arise, we would run out of a window of opportunity to get these things fixed and get these tanks back in service. And so since this work needed to be done, my concern was an emergency would develop on the later end of the project because we would have the facility not ready to go online and we would be at max capacity in our other sludge containers. And so I did not want to put the city in that precarious position. I asked the advice of our DPW director and our utilities manager if they felt that this project needed to go now to begin assembling materials, and they concurred. So I issued the emergency order, I believe on January 3rd. Essentially, this is not necessarily your approval, but I didn't want to do the brief you on it and to have your affirmation for my decision. I mean, it was a large purchase amount, but it needed to be done, and the window of opportunity to do it was closing, and I didn't want to put us in a situation.
Thank you for your explanation. Is there other discussion, questions?
Mayor Rep,
Yes,
I
Councilmember Harris.
guess my thing is just comment, and I know we're only talking about the 8th here, but But you know, with the state of communication now, with our iPads and everything else, it would have been nice if this council member would have known on January the 3rd also. The only thing that I can say good on the part of this is it was a competitive bid that we're going to get this done. But like I say, I don't think there's really an excuse, I'm not saying an excuse or a reason for delaying council's knowledge of an expenditure of this much, and that would be the only issue I would have. I mean, this is something that's got to be done, but I sure would like to know about it on maybe the 3rd or even the next day, even with an email that, hey, this is something that's going down.
Councilman Harris, I appreciate that, and you were notified the next day. I gave the approval on January 3rd. Your council packet with this resolution went out on January 4th, and I provided you with the written memo tonight in more detail. So we actually wrote the memo on the 3rd, or began writing the memo on the 3rd, but the resolution was in your council packet that Thursday. So Wednesday I made the approval, Thursday the council received notification, and today you received further written notification.
Well, some of us have other things to do on the weekends besides strictly looking at our council member, our agenda and stuff, and I appreciate what you're trying to tell me, but, you know, when you go out and volunteer for the community, I mean, it does take away from some of your spare time and stuff, but I'll stick with my position, and thank you very much.
No, I just have to say, I do somewhat agree with Councilmember Harris that we probably should have received a separate communication aside from the agenda, because if you didn't open it right away on Thursday night and it was Saturday, say, by the time you got to it or whatever. So when it's in something like this, it would be appreciated if in the future we,
Okay, absolutely.
single item, we got notified. Okay?
Absolutely.
Any other discussion?
Mayor Rapp,
Yes, Councilmember Warden.
this 135,000, is this going to be for not only the contractor's cost and also the material? Is this all inclusive of this additional work that needs to be done?
Correct.
Okay. And as far as the time frame of when you think it'll be done?
We're hoping in the next, before the early February. The lead time is the materials, which is significant, and so that's why we wanted to get it rolling now.
And it looks like only two of the tanks are requiring this. What about the other ones?
Correct, 2 of the tanks, which is the mixers.
And the other ones are checked out and they're okay?
I believe so. Is that correct, Lenny? We'll have Lenny come up. I believe they're mixers. They combine 2 at a time, so they're actually all 4.
If I can answer the question real quick, there are 8 biostorage tanks total. We worked on 4 of them now, and of those 4, one of them had a real problem. It required additional work. We learned that we had a problem with the manifolds. There are 5 pumps, or excuse me, valves and actuators in each of these 2 tanks, and those 5 are being replaced by a single manifold and a single valve. You know, we're repiping it. The other 2 tanks are fine.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't have the problem with those 2.
So basically,
But when we do the next 4, we may
Something
have
may
the same
pop
sort of problem.
okay. So out of the 4, this is what we're dealing with right here so far. Thank you.
Mayor Rupp?
Yes, Mayor
Lee,
Pro
what
Tem
are the
Asher.
repercussions if we didn't get this done in a timely manner?
We would have a real problem, because in 2005, we put this biosolids storage in place. We changed the system out there so that we could store the biosolids over the winter. If we don't have the storage capacity to store it, then we're going to have to go back to the way we used to dispose it, which is incineration, and we don't have an incinerator up and running to do this. We're currently using the other 4 tanks that should get us through the end of February, but we're going to need this system back online, or we're not going to be able to store. We produce about 20,000 pounds of biosolids per day, and we're going to need this. The plant will cease to operate in about a month.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor Rupp.
Yes, thank you.
And also, the city manager, you know, I know by ordinance or whatever that you have the authority to do emergencies. Could you take us through that process?
Yeah, so typically, very rare do I issue emergency emergency orders. I can think of 3 that I've done since I've been here off the top of my head. When I'm briefed by my department heads, the question is, if at all possible, can it wait to the council for approval? And then, do we need to schedule a special council meeting? And in this case, I couldn't get a special council meeting scheduled and together in time to brief on it. And at that point, I always weigh when going through the emergency order is, if we don't do this, is there detriment to health and safety of the community or health and safety of operations. In this case, given my previous experience in previous cities where we have done sewer wastewater plant projects, that something comes up where it's a week off or 2 weeks off on a part, well, that week or 2 weeks can put you in an absolute crisis. And so my job is to avoid those situations, and this would pigeonhole us if we did not do it. We'd be on such a tight timeline that I did not want to jeopardize this. So I believe my meeting was at 1 o'clock on the 3rd. I drafted an immediate resolution. We believe we got it done on Thursday, sent it to council. The memo, we were still working on the memo until, I think it was was it yesterday or this morning? Yeah, I finished the memo this morning, and I gave my signature on it after I already gave the verbal directive. You got the written signature this morning. So that document you have in front of you was not finished until this morning, because we wanted to get the right facts and data. So all I had to send you at the time was what was in the council resolution.
Okay. But I do concur with both the mayor and the council member. It's just a flag kind of issue.
Yep.
You know, that's all. Just a friendly thing out of common courtesy, you
Yep.
know, when you're going to do something like that.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes?
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Warden,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 2.
Receive and file notification that Keely Barabu has been appointed by the city manager to the Port Huron Housing Commission to fill a vacancy that expires on December 19th, 2018, and Jeffrey Pemberton has been appointed to fill a vacancy that expires on December 19th, 2022.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Harris, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lamb. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor, just point out, Keely Baraboo was recommended by Jim Dewey, the director of the Port Huron Housing Commission. He had mentioned that they wanted to form a closer relationship with the schools, especially in the neighborhoods that they serve, to kind of create that collaborative environment. And so Keely Baraboo is the communications director for the schools. We felt that was an appropriate appointment. I've also appointed Jeff Pemberton, who's here this evening. He has extensive business experience and marketing experience and communication experience. I believe that his experience in marketing and communication is going to be key for helping to convey the role of the Port Huron Housing Commission within our community, let alone his business acumen. I think will be a nice addition down there. Jeff applied for vacancy more than, I believe, a year ago. He has shown engagement to work and volunteer, and so I felt like this is a good role for him to serve his community and get his feet wet in public service.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, Mayor Rep.
Councilmember Warden.
Thank you. Just actually a few comments. First of all, it looks like Michael Batchelor, his current term is expiring, and I want to thank him for serving on that Housing Commission. Keely Baraboo, I do know, and I do want to say thank you for stepping up and helping out the city in this role. And as far as just meeting Jeff tonight, I want to thank you as well for stepping up and being part of this commission. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Warden,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Resolutions number 1.
Authorizing 11 payments.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lamb, is there discussion?
Madam Mayor, just want to point out the change order number 1 for $74,644 to HM Environmental Services. That was because the sludge that we were moving from our sludge tanks didn't meet parameters of landfill, so we had to take it to a hazmat facility, and those are the quantity costs from taking it to a hazmat facility for disposal. I believe that was in Flint. That cost was unavoidable, as well as the change order for the Lakeview project, which was for quantities, concrete, asphalt, sand. It was a quantity change order, but those were the 2 change orders I want to bring note to.
Thank you. Is there any questions, discussion?
Just a half a question. He addressed part of you. I was just going to ask, you know, we approved this change order for Raymond on November 13th, and I just wondered if this is in addition to that amount. This, you know, the change order on November 13th was for $28,838, and now we're adding this 8,000 something. Is that in addition to or just part of?
You mean from the original?
Yeah, I didn't know whether it was an extension of it or just.
Madam Mayor, the original change order that was approved was for the additional work that was authorized when we extended the sidewalk. We replaced essentially all the sidewalk, and then it required additional piping and whatnot. This is actually just a standard run-of-the-mill closure at the end of the project in which we tally up all the units and all the things that weren't covered before. You know, there's a little bit more landscaping, there's a little bit more concrete. This is not part of the original change order that was approved, but just part of the closure of the project. Sometimes the projects come in under, and sometimes they come in over. It's still within the estimated budget, but the change order was simply is about $8,000 for units.
So it fits within the bid, but it's not part of the change.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on the payments? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Warden,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes?
Councilmember Harris,
Yes,
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Resolution number 2.
Approving the contract with the Michigan Department of Transportation for installation of permanent overhead LED lighting within the trunk line roadway right-of-way.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb, is there discussion?
Mayor Rep.
Councilmember Harris.
One little question. Item 3 in the document says that we're required to get a permit to work on our lights under this contract with MDOT. Why would we need a permit to work on our own lights?
So that's an excellent question. So essentially, we're in the MDOT road right-of-way, and anytime we work in the MDOT road right-of-way, we file permits and work plans with them, whether or not it's a water main, whether or not we're closing down the street. So this is just like fixing a street light or digging up a water main on Huron Ave. Anytime we do work within the right-of-way, we file a work plan and a permit.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mayor Rep.
Councilmember Warden.
I just have, is this regarding the lights that are from the building owners across the Main Street downtown?
Correct.
Okay. So I guess just, this is the first, as far as this agreement with the MDOT and the city, we just got this on Thursday in our packet. And I guess my concern of the word that popped out, and as I read through this, it says permanent, permanent LED lighting, and this agreement with Michigan Department of Transportation, the city, to install permanent overhead lighting, kind of throughout. And I was, you know, the word permanent in there, I just had some, I guess, a concern. If the building owners, you know, they've already previously signed and agreed to participate and had this stuff installed, were they made aware of this being a permanent agreement before they signed on?
So that's an excellent question. So the lighting project with the building owners is not a permanent agreement. The easements are for 3 years, and then they expire. And unless renewed, then the lights would come off the buildings. When they mean permanent by MDOT standards, typically any type of project or lighting project or something special on a road right-of-way is about a 45-day permit. We're asking for much longer than 45 days, which is technically permanent. So it's permanent in the eyes of MDOT that we can do this as long as we agree with the plan, a maintenance and inspection plan, but the project's not permanent because the agreements and the easements with the property owners were only for 3 years. So we have written agreements that spell that out with each building owner.
Okay. Yeah, that's what popped up, and I just had that concern to raise, to ask that question, so thank you.
Anybody else? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes,
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Warden,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 3.
Approving the sale of various vacant parcels of city-owned land for $500 each.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb. Discussion.
Madam Mayor, if I could, I just want to point out this is again part of a long-term strategy to get these parcels, most of them unbuildable, back on the tax rolls and to the adjacent property owners who take care of their properties, who want a little bit bigger yard. I still think of former Councilmember Brian Mueller, who used to drive me around town and show me all these lots and say, why do we have them? I also want to applaud David Haynes for being aggressive and engaging the property owners and making them apprised of this opportunity. If you go into the lobby this evening as well, our Community Development Office has really taken it a step further. And for sites that are buildable, and if you'd like to build a home in Port Huron, they're actually advertising homes that Community Development Office has for sale that you can actually build on. I believe they put them on the website. So we're getting very aggressive in marketing opportunities for new home builders, which we've had, I think, 5 parcels built last year. But also making sure that the adjoining property owners who paid their taxes, who kept their property up, have an opportunity to get these properties back on the tax roll. So I really applaud David and Nicole Smith and their efforts to get this going.
So these are all unbuildable lots? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, correct.
Yes, Councilmember
I
Harris.
just got a question, right? And James just brought it up here, but maybe Dave can clarify, because I looked at the maps or the Google Maps or whatever of some of the properties, and it looks like 1327 Lapeer and the property on 11th Street aren't adjacent to either Dave Dobney or Dan Dobney. Is that?
You said,
I was kind of looking, because I know what our consensus is to sell to the neighboring property owners, and 1327 Lapeer is not adjacent. I don't see any property owner named Dave Dobney as adjacent property owner.
Correct. There's a land contract involved in those properties, and he will be the owner, or he's in process of selling in a land contract.
And on 11th Street, Dan Dobney.
Same thing, family.
One other question while we're at it here, and because I know I'm only about 3 blocks away from, but the property on Miller Street, I know that the other people to the west were interested at one time in the property and stuff, and we ended up selling the property to a landowner that's been cited for not keeping up his property. And that kind of, I guess it questions it, I mean, we have a person who has property there, I believe it's 1621 Miller Street, who's been cited because he doesn't keep up his property. The neighbors have complained because he doesn't keep up his property, and now we're selling him this lot. And we had a chance to sell it to maybe somebody else.
And we notify the adjacent property owners, and it's basically the ones who have come forward with interest and willing to pay the $500 are the ones that have.
So have we explained this guy's responsibilities if he's going to take this
Yes.
new property?
Yes.
Because I know his neighbors will be reminding me every time I walk by, so,
I'm sure my phone will be ringing.
yeah, okay.
In
Yep.
addition as well, just to point out, we are currently paying to mow all these properties throughout the
I know.
seasons. So this is a cost savings as well to the city.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, Mayor Rep.
Yes, Councilmember Warden.
Yeah, I just, again, we're talking about land lots within the city, owned by the city. And again, my concern is, as we're purchasing properties, it's multiple thousands of dollars and demoing and using tax dollars and so forth. And then when we turn around and sell it, I was quite surprised to see a $500 per parcel for a 38 by 100 lot in the city. A cell phone, they're $600. Or you can buy a lot, that you can keep the rest of your life in the city of Port Huron. I just am concerned that it seems extremely low, and I know there's the fact that we have to mow it and we have to upkeep it and get it back on the tax rolls, but I just wonder, is there anything we could do to try to, I wrote down to maximize just the chances of getting the highest, the fair market value and highest benefit for the city taxpayers. And I just think when I see $500 for this lot, whether it's not buildable for a home, I'm not sure if they're able to put a garage or a structure or something on it other than a house. Are they restricted from doing that as well?
Excellent question, Councilman Warden. I first want to point out that these properties, unlike the properties we've been assembling around the industrial park, are landlocked. They're unbuildable. You cannot build an accessory building without having a principal residence there, so you just can't pull up a pole barn in the middle of a neighborhood without having a house there. That would take away from the characteristics of the neighborhood. So again, these are unbuildable. You can't build a pole barn on them. You can't just have a place to go. So the only value would be to the adjoining property owners. Now, if this was multiple parcels, all green space, all close to each other, where we could assemble them and build a factory, market, market shares would be worth something. But these properties have no value besides additional yard space.
And from real estate terms, this would be considered excess land, and its contribution to value is minimal. and it's really the only value is to the adjacent property owners. And, given the income levels of a lot of our residents, for them to actually have an extra $1,000, $2,000 just to spend on adjoining property that is really for a minimal value to them as far as their market value. But for them, it gives them additional room, the opportunity for a garage, and additional room for a play set. It gives them, more area for, growing the family.
Yeah, I just look at it and try to step, if we were in the private sector and we owned that land, would we sell that vacant piece of land for $500? And I have a hard time with myself bringing it. I said, well, you could put a sign out there, put a 3-month auction bid to see how much somebody would want to pay for it. I don't know the protocol of what you're doing out there, but I'm just thinking that seems like an awful low dollar amount for a lot that, for $500. So that's what I wanted to raise, and I just think we should be looking at everything possible to maximize that potential, taxpayer dollar. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, one of the things I would also note is in addition to our efforts to sell these adjacent property owners to the homeowners, the Port Huron Housing Port Huron Housing Corporation, which I'm a member of, we also purchase homes, rehab them, or use blight elimination dollars to tear them down. We went to a lot of the adjacent property owners and we said, what's the barrier to entry? And they've often told us, well, I don't have $500, so I'm not in a rush to buy the property because I know nobody else ever will, because you can't build on it, and it's adjoining to my corner. So what we did for the Port Huron Housing Corporation is that we actually allowed a payment plan. So people who wanted to purchase these properties could take possession and do a payment plan of $50 a month or $100 a month, and Nicole Smith has been working with them. So families that want the additional land, who really can't afford the $500 or don't need to rush to buy because they know no one else is, we've really tried finding paths to make it possible for everyone to expand their yard, even those who don't have, $500 is a lot of money for some families to just front. And so we're really going out of our way to make them accessible, that if people really want that opportunity and it's there and no one else wants it, that we make it a pathway for them.
Just as a response to that, the people lived at own the property at 1631 Miller Street. They had bought the other property at 1629 originally through the Port Huron Housing Commission, and they had mentioned to me in the past, and that's when I see they didn't get the property. That was where the question came up, because I know that they would be a good addition to the neighborhood. So.
Absolutely. Excellent point.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We'll take the vote. Thanks, David.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
No?
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. I'll move on to ordinances.
Second reading and enactment, an ordinance to amend Chapter 52 zoning, Article 7 signs of the Port Huron Code of Ordinance to allow freedom of speech signs with size regulations, to redefine political signs, and decrease the size allowed for special event signs.
Thank you. Before I ask for a motion, I would ask that the motion be to refer it back to the Planning Commission, seeing as there are some items that we still want to deal with, and we're prepared to bring it tonight.
So move.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Ashford. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lamb. So this is to refer it back to the Planning Commission, at which time they will revisit it and then bring it back to us.
Do we have any discussion?
No.
Only on the postponement. You can't discuss the item, but
Okay.
you can discuss the postponement.
Oh.
Okay? Nothing? Okay, we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. That concludes our agenda for this evening. One announcement, the city offices will be closed January 15th in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And stating that, I just would also like to mention that there is an event being held at the College and the Fine Arts Center that's honoring the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, and I'd encourage anyone to go and attend that. Also, yesterday at Shiloh Baptist, there was a program, and I won't steal Anita's thunder, so I'll let her talk about that.
Oh, you're not stealing my thunder.
Well, it's your church,
You
so
can go
if you
ahead and
wanna-
ring. You were there. Yeah, no, the mayor has always been so gracious in attending those. As you may or may not know, the historic Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church was the first entity sort of to bring the celebration to the city of Port Huron regarding Dr. Martin Luther King. And the former J.L. Portis, when he was living, we had stopped for a while, and I think he, in turn, introduced it to the Operation Transformation. But as it would have it, the community thought we were just so close and intimate with that we needed to keep that going, at that end, for the very purpose on yesterday. And it was a excellent, I thought so.
That's a very nice
It was a
program.
very nice program. We had 3 getting the Spirited Community Award was our former Chief Reeves, giving him that was Chief Baker, who did an excellent job, and Niger Hussein, she got the Drum Majors Award, and also Cecily Shoulders got a Drum Majors Award. So it was well-attended. Oh, yeah, and we had 2 DARE students that flowed into the theme. The theme was sustaining Dr. Martin Luther King's dream in peerless times. And if you don't know what peerless times means, just so much is happening in our world, and nobody has any answers. That's peerless. How could these things be happening? And we're so, perplexed by what's, even people are changing, just left and right. So we just thought we pinned that on as our theme for 2018. So it was a very moving and stirring. The keynote speaker was the Reverend Carl Miller from Restoration Church, and he was a thunderous.
Yes, he was.
He was. He had Pauline jumping. But it was really nice, and so we look forward to doing this every year. It's an annual event, and we plan to attend the ones on Sunday at Grizzle Street Baptist Church, Operation Transformation, and we also plan on attending the SC4 on the Monday.
At 6 p.m.
At 6 p.m. at the college. So we encourage everybody to attend those.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor, for giving me the opportunity
No
to
problem.
speak.
No problem. Also, just before I pass it along to everybody else, I asked James just before the meeting if we could perhaps have an update at our, sometime, not tonight, on the recovery homes and the detox facility where that was coming. So I asked if he would send us out something on that.
Okay.
Okay.
And also, Mayor, certainly on behalf of Councilmember Harris and I, we had this passion about the Viaduct Bridge, and we're still looking to do something there. And we know they're not going to do anything now, and I know they ran out of time, but now it's another issue where people are walking there. I don't know who's responsible for keeping that clean. It's snow all up there.
They have to walk down the street.
When I went through there yesterday.
Yeah, and
It's a township sidewalk. I can reach out to the township on that.
well, could you do that? Yeah, because it's leave a lot to be desired, why they should have to walk in the streets, and they
That's a
need to be
safety
clean.
issue.
Yeah.
Safety issue. Madam Mayor, if I real could, just want to thank the police officers and firefighters and streets crews through the holiday season who did not get the day off, did not get New Year's Eve, did not Christmas Eve or Christmas off. I just want to thank them. We had a couple big snow events over the holidays that they were out there early, and it's been freezing cold out, and they were out there. And so I just want to thank them for that. It doesn't go unnoticed, that sacrifice that those guys make, to give up their holiday for service of our community. So thank you to that.
I agree.
You know what, I don't know if I should mention this or not, but I got ready to plow my snow this morning. It snowed last night. We had that beautiful snow outside, and I was gun-ho. I got this snow blower, and then I got to the end of the driveway, and something went clunk. I went, oh, shoot, what is that? And it was a shopper caught up in my snow blower. I went, oh, no, this can't be happening. I got one of these long driveways, and so I had to wiggle that thing all the way back to the back to try to get the stuff out of there. I was really ticked, but I'm just saying this not to make whoever's, I know who's doing the shopper, but I don't want no more shoppers in my, whatever. Keep your shopper. And I'm still, if anybody got any idea how to get that thing out of there, I try to put it on fire, I cut it, and then I tried to go get scissors, and I just got to a little point, and it still can't, it starts and everything, but I guess I have to call Beltline.
Yeah.
But the point is that, they can be very dangerous. You just don't know what's under there. It's not like I knew, like I had x-ray vision, oh, there's a shopper. So, anyway.
Well, that is a subject,
It's
it's a
a
subject
problem.
matter that
Yeah.
James and I discussed today, so.
I know, I just want you to know, it
Yeah.
is a problem. I said, I'll be darned, So I don't know, I'm not gonna go home tonight and work on it, but I'll do it tomorrow, I guess. Or maybe I can take it to Times Zero, maybe they can get it out. So it's really not a joke or whatever, it's something that, we need to try to get some resolution to and be concerned about.
We have, Mayor Rep brought up, we've had a few letters from some people in the community. The Shopper's Guide, I've tried to request mine being stopped. It is annoying. For those who have written us about, banning the Shopper's Guide, because they put news stories in it, and essentially a newspaper, and so because of freedom of the press, we can't ban them, we can't stop them from delivering it, and it's intentional the way they do it. This has been challenged in court. The same Gannett that owns the Shopper's Guide here throws it on my dad's house in Waterford, and he calls me and complains about it. I don't like it because if I'm not home for a weekend, people know it because there's a Shopper's Guide laying out front, and so I would just encourage people to call and let the Times Herald and Gannett, it's not the local Times Herald people, so take it easy on them. That's a corporate thing. Yeah, it's a corporate thing, but yeah, it is something that, it is protected speech. You can't impede the delivery of it. If we could, I would. I've yet to meet someone who really loves getting their Shopper's Guide, but I'm sure they're out there.
Other,
Yeah, Mayor Rep?
yes.
Just real quick, just in the announcement section here, I just, first of all, I want to thank everybody who came here and came down to give some citizen comments. Appreciate you guys coming down when you do and filling us in on some of the things that you have some concerns on. I just want to make sure, again, over the holidays here, the International Silver Stick just started again. The first weekend was a success. A lot of thanks to the volunteers, and the community was just filled with people from all over North America, Florida, you name it. They all came in town, and I think the city looked great, and the McMorran Ice Arena was quite a nice reflection of a first-class facility. Also, the DARE, there was a DARE, not a DARE, but I'm sorry, but a Safe Ride program that was announced and put out there, and I want to thank the radio station and Earl Smith and some of the sponsors for that, because I did hear some pretty good feedback on that service and keeping everybody safe if they were going out on New Year's Eve. It was a pretty good success. So again, I just want to make sure I make a mention. Silver Stick second weekend is coming up. Plus, we have multiple other things coming up in different facilities for shows and so forth, as well as the Martin Luther King thing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
The Safe Ride was sponsored by Blue Water Area Transportation.
Yep, as well, yep.
Anyone else?
I just want to commend everybody that did show up for Silver Stick. Probably the coldest one I ever remember. Going out and getting my car at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's 15 below zero. But I thought we had a very, very good group of young men here this year in the AAA final and stuff. It was very enjoyable. A few little hiccups when you get this many troops together all at the same weekend and stuff. But I think now's still the time. We got the Port Huron teams in this weekend Silver Stick and the next weekend Silver Stick, and I just hope to see a few of you there because it's interesting. It's kids growing up, and it's surprising the level they reach when you see them play AAA hockey and things like that. These kids, not a huge percentage, but there's a percentage of these kids that are going to be in the NHL someday. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
No, the lights are great. I've been hearing a lot of comments
Yeah.
on the lights downtown. Yeah,
They're nice.
From your Silver Stick people, too. They're saying they're awesome, yeah.
Yep.
Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Meeting adjourned.